Have you ever been in a situation where you had to make a choice, one that could change everything? A choice that required courage, even when fear whispered in your ear. That's the story of Esther, a young woman whose quiet bravery saved her people. The story begins in Persia, in the grand palace of King Xerxes. He was powerful, wealthy, and, let's just say, he liked to show off. At one banquet, after too much wine, he called for his queen Vashti to come and display her beauty before all his guests. But Vashti refused, and the king, he was furious. She was removed, and a search began for a new queen. Among those brought to the palace was Esther, not from a rich family, an orphan, raised by her cousin Mordecai. And yet, somehow, Esther was chosen. Out of all the women, she became queen. But no one knew her secret. She was Jewish. Then enters Haman, ambitious, hungry for power. When Mordecai refused to bow to him, pride turned into rage. Haman convinced the king to issue a decree. On a certain day, all Jews in the empire could be destroyed. Imagine the fear. Families, children, entire communities facing destruction. When Mordecai heard the news, he tore his clothes in grief. He begged Esther to speak to the king. But she knew the risk. Entering the throne room uninvited meant death, unless the king extended his golden scepter. And then Mordecai said words that have echoed through history. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this? Esther sent word. Fast and pray for 3 days, I and my attendants will do the same, then I will go to the king, and if I perish, I perish. She wasn't fearless, she was faithful, even while afraid. On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and walked in. The king saw her, and extended the golden scepter. Her life was spared. But instead of rushing, Esther invited the king and Haman to a banquet, and then another. She was patient, wise, waiting for the right moment. That night the king couldn't sleep. He read the records, and remembered that Mordecai had once saved his life. The next day he asked Haman, "How should I honor someone special?" Haman, puffed up with pride, thought it was him. He described glory, robes, a parade, and the king said, "Perfect, do that for Mordecai." At the second banquet, the king asked Esther what she wanted. She finally revealed her secret. She was Jewish, and Haman's plot was against her own people. The king was furious. Haman's plan crumbled. Justice came swiftly. The king was furious. Haman's plan crumbled. Justice came swiftly. The decree couldn't be undone, but the king allowed the Jews to defend themselves, and on that day the tables turned. The people were spared. Their sorrow became joy. Their mourning became celebration. And even now, the festival of Purim remembers that day. Esther's story isn't just about a queen long ago. It's about courage in the face of fear. It's about realizing that sometimes the place you are, the role you have, may be for a bigger purpose. She wasn't a warrior. She wasn't chasing power. She was someone who chose faith over fear. So maybe the question we can carry with us is the same Mordecai asked. Who knows if perhaps you were made for such a time as this? That's the story of Esther, a reminder that God can use anyone, no matter their background, no matter their fear, to bring hope, courage, and deliverance.